Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the Employers Advantage team for our monthly roundtable discussion. Today, we will be talking about pay or compensation equity. I'm Megan Trout, Business Operations Manager, and with me today are HR business partners Ellen, Jessica, and Penny. Team, pay equity defined means compensating employees the same when they perform the same or similar job duties, while accounting for other factors such as their experience level, job performance, and tenure with the employer. Why should pay equity matter to employers?
So I'll start. I think pay equity, it shows your employees that you value them. It shows that you see them, that regardless of any sort of gender, race, age, or any other, demographic status, that you value them. It can improve your morale and employee engagement and give you higher overall job satisfaction. So, when you ensure that you're paying your employees equitably, you're increasing your efficiency, the creativity, the productivity, because you're attracting the best and you're reducing turnover and you're increasing that commitment to the organization because you're showing that you value them.
Go ahead, Jessica.
All of that is great and true. And I'm sure Penny's going to hit on the legal side of things. And if I can guess, if I know Penny, and even though we're not lawyers, right, we are in HR, that is still very much part of our role. But I was also going to add too that pay equity helps with recruitment. If you're not paying equitably or even in a range, right, and that is competitive, why would anybody want to come work with you? Okay, Penny, I'm gonna let you go now. I know you've got this.
Yeah, basically what I was going to say was pay equity has always been a matter, again, from a legal standpoint, kind of a sore spot for some individuals. And so as employers, when you are recruiting, if you're advertising, that you're an equal opportunity employer, then this is going to be a matter of significant importance for you, because even though the Equal Pay Act came about in the 1960s and was signed into law by Kennedy in '63. It's one of those things where still today, there are still certain groups, whether it be minorities, whether it be women, that are paid less. And it's not intentional discrimination. I would never accuse an employer of doing that, but it's just kind of that systematic process where through the years, they have received lower wages. So when you're negotiating in the negotiations process, they're going to come in with a lower requirement. And so when you look at the overall organization and you're looking at what this position is and what it contributes to the organization, that's why we encourage employers to set ranges. And so that way you're compensating whoever is taking that role based upon the contributions that role has for your overall company. And it helps you to stay in line as an employer, so that you can continue to give that feel-good vibe of we're doing the right thing. It doesn't mean that you can't negotiate salary, because you still can. We still encourage employers to pay based upon education, based upon experience, because these are all very important things that people bring with them. But stay in the range is what we're basically encouraging all of our clients, and what I encourage all HR practitioners as well as business owners is to try to stay in that range, so you don't have someone that feels undervalued because they find out later that you may have paid a different person more money, or you may post the position for more money after they leave. And that's what I do see happen a lot of times, unfortunately, especially in today's market, because employers are having to pay more, right, to get people, because the cost of living is going up. And so if you have someone in the role and they're being successful, and they leave because they get another opportunity, and then you wind up increasing that pay range, could you have retained all of that knowledge from the person who was in the role and was doing it successfully if you had just offered them more money? So all good things to think about in the process.
I do want to talk about, Penny, you just mentioned the equal opportunity employer statement. And if you have an employee handbook, likely a statement like that is in this handbook. And often we gloss over that statement, right? When I do a handbook rollout, I always make sure to read that statement as it applies to the employer. because I think it's important for the employees to hear that and understand what it means, and also remind the employer, hey, this exists, right? So we always talk about employee handbook being an active handbook. This is how you are living out your business. And so if you're not living it out in that way, probably should rethink that statement, probably should look into that statement and understand what it means.
And I think too, Jessica, to your point, I think that, you know, communicating that shows that pay equity is a priority for the organization and that you've got buy-in. And I think that you need that manager support, like, you know, the company leaders, the team, like the team members need to see that there's support all around. And, you know, because so that they know that it's a reality and that they know that, hey, you know, this is something that my company's committed to. I'm proud to work for them because this is something that is important. And then if I do have issues, that it's okay for me to express my concerns. So.
Okay, and
I think it's, I'm sorry,
no,
Megan.
no, go ahead, Penny. No.
I was just thinking, you know, another good thing to kind of point out is I also know, just through my experience with various employers over the years, we still try to encourage people not to discuss pay, especially in smaller organizations. But that's one of the things that is their right based upon the national, the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Bureau or board or whatever you want to call it. But whenever that was created and whenever that was passed, that was one of the sore spots for a lot of the union organizing, is they wanted pay ranges and they wanted things to be public. And they wanted to be able to talk about wages. So that's just something, a little ticker to remind you to tread carefully. Yes, we don't want employees to talk about pay, but if they choose to, then that is a legally protected right amongst them.
I would say, Penny, that is like an HR myth. That, like, you know, employers often think that it is illegal for employees to talk about their pay. So they'll say, like, it's illegal. You're not supposed to talk about what you make, but it's actually not illegal. It's illegal to tell people they cannot talk about their pay.
Yeah. Well, and I see that a lot in smaller organizations, right? So they have the handbook, and then it's not uncommon for there to be a paragraph in there saying, we encourage you not to discuss your pay. It should be confidential between blah, blah, blah. And so, I mean, again, not saying that paragraph is blatantly illegal. It depends upon exactly how it's written. And of course, there's little tweaks and stuff like that. But it's one of those red flags to say, hey, we need to really evaluate this, because if we have an EEO statement and then we have this statement, you know, just 3 pages over,
contradicting,
it's kind of contradicting itself.
Well, and two, depending on what state you are from, there are rules, there are state regs in place saying that you have to disclose ranges, whether it's in the recruiting process or in the interviewing, or, you know, or during the actual interview on the job posting. So that's important as well, to make sure that small businesses understand that, you know, depending on what state you're in or where you're recruiting, there are some, you know, pay equity, you know, that you have to show, that you have to be transparent about.
And to Ellen's point, that's a very good point, because now is the time, if you want to be a proactive employer and you want to get ahead of the game before it's mandated in your state or in your area. There are a lot of states. It started with New York, and then it's kind of spreading into a lot of different states. This is something that comes up almost every election, especially in the local communities and principalities. So if you want to get ahead of the game, start now. And then that way you'll have it, because it takes it takes a little bit to put together pay ranges. You've got to do your research, you've got to see what the cost of living is, you've got to see do you even
have job descriptions?
Absolutely. If you don't have a job description, then we have to get those created,
which I'm just going to say, for our recruiting specialists on the team, they would be really appreciative if we said that a job description is different than a job posting. So I'm just going to say that here.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And that's one of the things that we, I don't want to speak for every consultant or business partner within the team, but for me, this is one of the things I'm passionate about. And so I love being able to work with organizations and put together the job descriptions, put together the salary ranges, and we have excellent tools at Employers Advantage to be able to do compensation analysis and recommendations and things like that. So if that's something that you as a current client want help with, we love that. If that's something that you know of a friend who has an organization that might need some help, then by all means share our information with them, because we have a lot of opportunity to really, really put some good insight and input into that process.
I would say compensation analysis is trending right now. I think, COVID has really sparked this because now you're remote. So, I live and work in the state of New York. My employer is, in the state of New York, but I hire somebody in Montana. So now do I need to pay the wage that I would pay in New York, or do I pay for the wage in Montana? And so we're getting a lot of these questions. This is coming up a lot because we do have remote workforces, and the cost of living is different state to state, town to town, city to city, and having a pay scale, having a range for a position will help mitigate some of that, so that you can confidently negotiate with a candidate, so that you can confidently negotiate with an employee, so that you can confidently state, I am paying this employee equitably among their peers, among the company, among whatever the comparison is. It puts some research, some backing behind what you're doing.
Definitely.
Now, what was your next question, Megan?
Well, I think you guys have all covered it. We've covered all the bases. Is there anything else anybody wants to throw out there? I know it's a passionate subject for all of us. So
just one thing I'll just quickly say is that, if you're doing the compensation analysis, and if you're noticing that there's a disparity, it needs to be acknowledged, it needs to be addressed, it needs to be fixed, because you don't want to end up in legal drama if because you're having unfair pay practices. I mean, and also you don't want to be known in the business community, as being an employer with unfair pay practices. It's bad on both ends. So that's just, the one little thing I'll leave off with. So
yeah, definitely.
And I was just going to say, and the one thing I wanted to add, a lot of times with businesses, when you use the word compensation, people just think salary or the hourly rate. So
this is good, Penny. Yes.
It's very important that you keep in mind that compensation is more than that. It's a bonus program. It's leadership clubs, or
it could be even benefit contributions.
Yes, absolutely.
Benefit contributions. So we always encourage everybody to take a look at that total compensation. If you're providing auto allowance, or if you're providing housing allowance,
education assistance. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, all of that needs to be considered whenever you're talking about compensation, not just the rate of pay.
Absolutely.
And could absolutely be presented to a candidate upon hire, right? This is your total compensation package. Again, what Penny was saying, when we talk about compensation, we often just stick to hourly rate or salary or whatever it is the monetary value is, but it's beyond that. And I think if we start to move away from this narrow view of what compensation is, and start to really expand this total view, it could really help in recruitment, right? Back to where we started.
And considering it as the total rewards. I know that that's something that we hear a lot, when we're doing our education, as human resource professionals, we have to look at the total rewards package. And like you're saying, like there's more to compensation, absolutely, than just the salary. Absolutely.
Awesome, guys. Well, team, as always, we appreciate your thoughts and input. And for those watching, we appreciate you as well. Have a great day.